everyone, and welcome to another edition of Paul's Cinema Picks of the Week. I am Brantford's film enthusiast, Paul Westbrook, although it doesn't say it on here. This is the advertisement for our page. Anyway, a little different thing today. I'm going to be talking about a book about movies from the 1950s. And I went to the book fair today because we're having a book fair in our city, Brantford, at the Old City Hall. For those who want to know where it is, it's at the Old City Hall building on Wellington Street, and it's between Charlotte and George Street. It's where the Old City Hall used to be before they moved it up to the post office area. Anyhow, to make a long story short, yes, I got this book here. It's called Movies of the 1950s. And yeah, you probably have to excuse the little
can't see it.
Marking. Can't see
the markings. No.
Can't see the markings? Good. Well, anyway, there's some markings on the on the book, but fortunately you won't be able to see it on the screen, hopefully, and that's good because yeah. In this, they talk about the various films of the 1950s because the 50s were quite a era for Hollywood and for filmmaking. You had like your westerns and you had your dramas and a genre called film noir, which you don't really see a lot of today, but back then it was very popular, like the 40s and then the early 50s and stuff. Then you had your atomic mutation movies like Godzilla and Rodan and Mothra and all the different monsters and stuff, and even the movies like Thing from Another World, starring James Arnett, who was Marshall Dillon in Gunsmoke. He did a film called The Thing back in the 50s, and Howard Hawks directed it, and was about an alien creature that came down to Earth. And the thing is, he's not friendly. In fact, he can assimilate to be all sorts of different shapes. And yeah, my sister just gave me some iced tea, which is really good. Sister and Dave gave me some tea for change, and I like that. Anyway, back to the movie thing. So the different films that they list in here, and I can look at the back, because that way I'm not just looking through a whole book. You have movies like The Thing from Another World. You have The Subject. You have Quo Vadis, Streetcar Named Desire, which was a Marlon Brando movie from the 50s. You have The African Queen, which is actually a very sought-after film with Humphrey Bogart and Katharine Hepburn. American Paris with Gene Kelly. High Noon, Singing in the Rain, Ivanhoe, The Little World of Don Camillo, Limelight, which was one of Charlie Chaplin's later films in the 50s. Yes, he was still acting in the 50s, believe it or not, but he wasn't doing silent movies. He was doing, in this one, it's more of a take on the music halls and the faded glories of people that used to work at the music halls, and then by the time the 20th century was dawning, and then the late 19th century was, well, the late 19th century anyway, and the music halls were fading out, so a lot of the old comedians were in early retirement, and, you know, it was sort of a sad time. It was a sad movie, but it was done very well, and one of Chaplin's best. You have the Forbidden Games, The Crimson Pirate, Fan the Tulip. Never even saw that one. Monsieur Hulot's Holiday, which is actually done in the style of a silent film about a man who goes on vacation, and then all sorts of hilarious stuff happens. And you got movies like Gentlemen Prefer Blondes with Marilyn Monroe and Jane Russell. You got Roman Holiday, which is a classic starring the legendary Audrey Hepburn. You got From Here to Eternity with Burt Lancaster and Deborah Kerr. Star is Born, that's the Judy Garland version. That was the one around 1954, because it says on the whole listings here. On the Waterfront with Marlon Brando. Godzilla. Now everybody's seen Godzilla movies, right? Of course, they just recently did Godzilla Kong, the New Empire. This was the original Godzilla. It was called Gojira in Japan. At home, I actually have a DVD set with two versions of it. It's the original Gojira, the Japanese presentation that you saw in Japanese theaters, and then its American counterpart was called Godzilla King of the Monsters. And, of course, that one starred Raymond Burr, and they added some footage of Raymond Burr as a reporter, and he's the one that's investigating the whole thing with Godzilla's first rampage in Tokyo. Then you got Creature from the Black Lagoon, Seven Samurai, La Strada, which is the road. That means the road. Caine Mutiny, 7-Year Itch, another Marilyn Monroe movie. Forbidden Planet. I'm just going through some of the ones. Like, I'm not going to go through all of them. Seventh Seal. That one had Maximum Cedo in it, and was one of the great classics. The Ten Commandments, which I was actually told was the Star Wars of its day. The Ten Commandments starring Charlton Heston, and in fact, people liked Star Wars when people lined up around the block to see this movie, and they had to wait most of the day. That was the same thing with Titanic. No, not Titanic, the Ten Commandments. Maybe Titanic too, but yeah, it was definitely the Ten Commandments was one of the most sought after watched movies of its time. Dracula, yes, Dracula in 1958 starred Christopher Lee, which was entitled Horror of Dracula, and it was made by the famed Hammer Studios. Some Like It Hot, Ben-Hur, which is another classic with Charlton Heston in it. The Misfits, which was Marilyn Monroe's last movie. Spartacus with Kurt Douglas. The Apartment with Jack Lemmon. And Peeping Tom. Can't remember who really starred in that one, but it was a very controversial film, and it was banned for years. And Eyes Without a Face. So some of those movies, the Rebel Without a Cause, Night of the Hunter, which is a very chilling movie with Robert Mitchum in it, and he plays a psychotic killer. He disguises himself as a minister, a preacher, and he marries this widow, and then he wants the treasure that I guess the two kids know about. So he goes ahead and I guess he murders the widow, and then he's after the kids. And it's one of the more chilling movies, and at the time it was made, a lot of critics didn't understand it, so they panned the movie. But in the long run, the movie was actually considered a classic as it went on, and it starred one of the actresses of the silent screen, which was Lillian Gish. She had started off with D.W. Griffith, and she did a lot of early silent films, and then later went into talkies, and then one of her main movies was, in fact, Night of the Hunter with Robert Mitchum. And Giant had James Dean, the legendary James Dean, as well. He was in Rebel Without a Cause as well. And, yeah, the Crimson Pirate, that was a really good movie, too. I think that one had Burt Lancaster. I was confusing it with The Pirate with Gene Kelly and Judy Garland, which was made about a couple of years earlier. Streetcar Named Desire, that's the one with Marlon Brando in it. And Vivian Leigh. And was actually turned in... Actually, it was a Broadway play before. I think before it was a movie. Or just after. And you have High Music Gary Clark. Or singing. Stop. You have some of those movies that are considered classics. Yes, the dog barking a little bit. Mascot. I guess you can see out the window. Anyway, I hope you got a little bit of the idea of the book.
Show some of the pictures inside.
Okay. Like Forbidden Planet here, you got a nice picture here. Got that one. That's what really drew me to this book. It was like, and it's just $2. This is the pictures from the Seventh Seal, which was made by Ingmar Bergman. That was one of his more famous films. The movie Giant. You can see, I'm just looking through the book here. I want to get a really good picture. Giant right there.
There's a lot of good pictures. That's why I suggested it.
Was that?
Pictures that drew you into the book, so if you could show the pictures, that way...
Yeah, definitely. If you see, you get an idea what the book is about, too. As well as me talking about the anecdotes of the movie. It's good to show pictures as well. And yeah, Giant was actually George Stevens' immoral classic, one of his classics. Because Stevens did so many great films, including The Greatest Story Ever Told. And another one here somewhere I want to look at. Kiss Me Deadly, which is a film noir movie. You got the picture there?
Mhm.
As long as my finger's not in the way there. And it's based on a novel by Mickey Spillane, and was directed by Robert Aldrich. Yes, this is the one I was talking about, Night of the Hunter. That's the one with Robert Mitchum. Plays the minister. And the thing is that what they don't realize is that he's actually a psychotic killer. Yeah, and the two kids, basically their mother gets murdered by this guy here, by the minister, and then he wants to get the treasure that these kids know about, so they take off and they hide, and then, that was his name, Harry Powell. The Reverend Harry Powell, yes. And he's going after the kids, and one of the scenes is where the kids are hiding in a barn, and you look in the distance, and you can see Powell, played by Mitchum. He's riding on a donkey, I guess, or he's riding along, and you can see him in the distance. So it's sort of like something out of a nightmare. But it was a great film. Marty was a movie with Ernest Borgnine, an older man who still lives with his mother. That was a classic movie as well, and certainly one of the better films of the 50s. Yeah, and of course, Marilyn Monroe. This is not Marilyn here. That's the same shot right there. The one where she is over a heat grate and then her dress goes up. It's been seen many, many different times in the film and stuff. So, and of course, Godzilla. The scene with him eating the train. So I just wanted to talk a little bit about that. I want to talk a little bit about movies of the 50s. When I saw this book, and it was just $2 to pick up at a book fair, I had to pick it up and said, well, there's my discussion for today. So that way I was able to visit the book fair, and was able to pick up a book. And I got some VHS tapes for absolutely free as well. But I can show them on another day. But the book was the main focus that I wanted to discuss about. And a book like that, it would cost a lot more money if you got it elsewhere. But when you went to a book fair and then the guy said, "Oh, you can take it for $2," so I was like, "Okay, I'll pick it up and I'll take it." Certainly proud to have it and have it in my collection. And now it's mine. So that was a little bit on the films of the 1950s, and hopefully you can seek out some of the movies and check them out on video or DVD or Blu-ray, whatever format you prefer, and then enjoy some of the classic films. And remember to like and subscribe to the channel. Leave your comments below in the comment section below the video. Thank you very much for listening. And this is Paul Westbrook reminding you that I'll be seeing you at the movies. So till then, so long.